Hey, I'm 29 and pregnant with my first baby, and my husband Luke, 29M, and I are over the moon. We've been trying to start a family for what felt like forever, and it's been a roller coaster of waiting, trying, and heartbreak. After tons of doctor visits, tests, and feeling like we'd tried everything, we finally got the news we'd been hoping for. I'm pregnant. It was like a dream come true. But instead of just being able to enjoy this happy moment, things have gotten really weird because of my sister-in-law, Lila, 34F. Lila's had a rough go with relationships. She was married to Joe, but a few years ago, she had an affair with Joe's brother, which led to a messy divorce that left everyone shocked. Lila seemed oddly fine with it all, but Joe took it really hard. He moved away, remarried, and hasn't looked back since. Lila, though, has stayed single and still acts like Joe is some big part of the family, even after everything that happened. When I told everyone I was pregnant, Lila was super excited at first and wanted to be super involved. I thought it was sweet. She was just happy to be an aunt. But then things got strange. She started suggesting baby names, which seemed normal at first, but every single name she came up with was some version of Joe. Not exactly Joe, but close enough that it was obvious she was referencing him. She kept saying it would mean so much to the family to honor him. It made me really uncomfortable, especially knowing how things ended between her and Joe. Luke and I had already decided we didn't want to name the baby after anyone in the family. We wanted something fresh and unique. When I tried to gently explain this to Lila, she looked hurt and almost offended. She said she thought it would be a meaningful way to honor the family's history. I felt awkward but stayed polite, telling her we'd pick the name ourselves. I thought that would be the end of it, but nope. She didn't let it go. It's been really strange and stressful. Lila kept pushing the baby name thing, even after I told her to stop. She kept sending us lists of names all tied to Joe, saying stuff like, "This would mean so much to the family," or that Joe would feel honored if we used his name. It was exhausting, but I figured if I just ignored her, she'd eventually give up. Big mistake. Then, about a week ago, things took a really scary turn. I had a small pregnancy issue, and my doctor prescribed me some medication to help. It was working fine, and I was careful to follow all the instructions. One day, I mentioned to Lila that I needed to refill my prescription, and she offered to pick it up for me while she was out. I thought it was nice of her and saved me a trip. The day after I took the medication she brought me, I started feeling really bad, dizzy, nauseous, and just not right. I thought it might be a new pregnancy symptom, but it got worse, and I ended up in the ER. After running tests, the doctors told me the medication wasn't what I was supposed to be taking. It was a much stronger dose, and it wasn't safe for pregnancy. At first, I thought it was just a mistake at the pharmacy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, especially since Lila was the one who picked it up. I called her to ask if she'd noticed anything weird. Her response completely shocked me. At first, she joked that she'd chosen a stronger dose on her own because she wanted me to pay for not naming the baby after her ex, and she started laughing. But then she said she thought a higher dose would help me more. She said it so casually, like it was no big deal, even though it could have seriously hurt me and the baby. I was furious. I ended up in the ER because of her, and she didn't even seem to get how serious it was. She kept saying she just wanted to help. I told her what she did was illegal and dangerous, and only then did she start apologizing, but it didn't feel genuine. That's when I knew I had to do something. After talking it over with Luke, we decided to take legal action. We filed a police report, documented everything, and let her know we were pressing charges for tampering with my medication. It was the only way to make her understand how serious this was. This whole situation has really split the family. Lila's trying to play the victim, saying she didn't know it would hurt me, but I can't buy that. If she really cared about my health, she wouldn't have messed with my medication without telling me, especially when I'm pregnant. Some family members think we're going too far by involving the police, saying she was just trying to help. But tampering with medication is a huge deal, and good intentions don't make it okay. Now I'm feeling really torn. Part of me worries I'm overreacting, especially since some relatives are mad at me and saying this is tearing the family apart. But on the other hand, what Lila did crossed a major line. It could have hurt me or my baby, and if I let it slide, it feels like I'm letting her get away with putting our safety at risk just because she thought she was helping. I hate that it's come to this, but I feel like I don't have a choice. Maybe facing legal consequences will make her realize how serious this was. Still, I'm second-guessing myself and could really use some outside perspective. So, Reddit, AITA for taking legal action against my sister-in-law for tampering with my medication just because I wouldn't name my baby after her ex? Update 1. Hey everyone. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for checking in on me and caring about my health. It really means a lot. I'm doing much better now, and my doctors have been keeping a close watch on me. I'm back on my original medication, which is safe for the baby, so that's a relief. I also wanted to give you an update about what's been going on with my sister-in-law, Lila. After I talked about possibly taking legal action against her for tampering with my medication, things took a turn I didn't see coming. I was still trying to wrap my head around what she did and dealing with the aftermath. Lila actually reached out to me. She called to apologize, saying she never meant for things to go that far and that she thought she was helping. At first, I wanted to believe her. I thought maybe she genuinely felt bad about what she did. But just as I was starting to accept her apology, she said something that really threw me off. She casually mentioned that I should see she was only trying to help, which felt insincere, like she was trying to downplay what she did and make it seem like it was my fault for not understanding her intentions. But that wasn't even the worst part. After our conversation, I started hearing rumors from other family members about things Lila had been saying. She was telling people that my baby wasn't Luke's, and that's why I didn't want to name the baby after a family member. I was shocked. Not only was she trying to twist the story about her own actions, but she was also dragging my marriage and my baby's paternity into this mess. When I found out, I was furious. Lila's lies were making me feel so stressed. I was just trying to focus on staying healthy for my baby, and here she was spreading these awful rumors to cover up what she did. I confronted her directly and asked why she would say something like that. But instead of taking responsibility, she just brushed it off, saying it was a misunderstanding and that she didn't mean it that way. It was really hard for me to accept her response. Lila has a habit of downplaying her actions and blaming others, and this felt like more of the same. It seemed like she was trying to distract everyone from her own mistakes and make me look like the problem in the family. The whole thing was so frustrating. All I wanted was to protect my baby and have a healthy pregnancy, but she kept creating drama and doubt. There's been a lot to deal with. After talking things over with Luke, we knew we had to take action. Luke reached out to some relatives to explain what was really going on and to let them know that Lila was spreading lies. We had to stand up for our child and make sure there weren't any misunderstandings about our family. The fallout hasn't been easy. Some family members have been supportive and reached out to us, but others have criticized us, saying we're making a big deal out of nothing. It's really frustrating because they don't seem to understand the full picture. This isn't just about names or Lila's feelings. It's about keeping my child safe and protecting our family. I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of two battles. One against Lila's manipulation and the other against the misunderstandings spreading through the family. As time goes on, it's clear that Lila isn't backing down. She's sticking to her story and trying to paint herself as the victim. I even overheard her at a family event telling people that I was overreacting. The more she twists the truth, the more determined I am to hold my ground. I never imagined I'd have to deal with something like this, especially during such a challenging time in my life. Lila's behavior isn't just affecting me. It's causing tension with other family members too. Some relatives are worried about how this will impact future family gatherings and relationships. I get that they want to keep the peace, but at what cost? Am I supposed to pretend everything's fine while my sister-in-law spreads lies about my marriage and my child? I can't do that. Talking to friends outside the family has been eye-opening. Many of them have encouraged me to stay strong and to keep a record of everything Lila says or does that could harm our family. It's unsettling to think about how far she might go to defend herself or twist the situation in her favor. Right now, I'm trying to focus on my pregnancy, but it's hard not to worry about Lila's actions. I know I'm doing the right thing by protecting my baby, but I can't help but think about how this family conflict might affect my child in the long run. Will they grow up hearing negative stories about their aunt that could hurt our family's relationships? It's exhausting and overwhelming. If things get worse, we might have to take more serious steps, and that's not something I ever wanted to do. Update 2. Hey everyone. It's been 6 months since I last updated you, and a lot has happened. Right now, I'm on bed rest because my pregnancy has gotten complicated, and I need to take it easy to avoid any risks. But honestly, it's been really hard to relax because of my sister-in-law, Lila. She's been causing so much stress, and it feels like I'm stuck in a bad dream. This is such an important time for me, and all I want to do is focus on staying healthy and getting ready for the baby. But instead, I'm constantly on edge, wondering what Lila will do or say next. Thankfully, Luke has been amazing through all of this. He's been by my side every day, making me feel safe and supported. He's seen how much this is affecting me and even tried to talk to Lila about her behavior. After months of dealing with her drama, Luke and his parents finally had enough. They called Lila and told her to stop spreading lies, warning her that if she didn't, they'd cut her off completely. We hoped this would make her realize how serious things were and get her to change, but it backfired. Instead of listening, she played the victim, saying we were overreacting and that she was just trying to help. It was unbelievable how she twisted everything, especially after everything she's done. It was exhausting trying to protect myself and the baby while dealing with her. Then, a few days later, Lila showed up at our house. I was resting in bed when I heard someone banging on the door. Luke answered, but she pushed her way in and started yelling, accusing me of tearing the family apart. I was so scared. Luke immediately stepped in and told her to leave. I was grateful he stood up for me, but it really hit me how bad things had gotten. After she left, I couldn't stop thinking about what she might do next. I hated feeling unsafe in my own home. Luke and I talked it over and decided we had to take serious steps to protect ourselves. We agreed to get a restraining order against her. It's not something we ever thought we'd have to do, but we couldn't ignore how dangerous the situation had become. With the baby on the way, we had to make sure we were safe. It's been a tough decision, but it's the right one for us. Getting a restraining order turned out to be harder than we thought. We had to talk to a lawyer who walked us through the process. The first step was gathering proof of Lila's behavior, which meant going back and remembering all the awful things she'd done and said. It wasn't easy reliving those moments, but we knew it was necessary. We wrote down every time she spread lies or made threats, making sure we had everything documented. During all of this, my anxiety got worse. Being stuck on bed rest meant I had way too much time to overthink. I kept worrying about how Lila's actions might hurt the baby or how this mess could affect our family relationships down the road. The idea of bringing a child into such a tense situation was really scary. But Lila didn't stop. She kept spreading her toxic rumors, and I started hearing from other family members about the things she was saying. It made me feel sick to my stomach. This was supposed to be a happy time, but instead, I was stuck dealing with all this drama. Luke did his best to shield me from it. He reached out to relatives to explain our side of the story and clear up any misunderstandings. Some family members were supportive, but others weren't. A few even said we were making too big of a deal out of it and that we should just try to get along. That was really frustrating because they didn't seem to understand how serious this was. This wasn't just some petty family argument. It was about our safety and peace of mind. It's been tough, but we're doing what we have to do to protect ourselves and our baby. Lila's behavior hasn't just affected us. It's caused tension with other family members too. Some of them are worried about how this will play out at future family events. I understand they want to keep the peace, but I can't just pretend everything's fine while Lila keeps lying about us. I refuse to let her toxic behavior dictate how we live our lives. I've also started opening up to friends outside the family about what's going on. Their support has been a huge help. They've been reminding me to stay strong and keep documenting everything Lila does. They've helped me see that I'm not overreacting and that protecting my child is the most important thing. Having this kind of support system outside the family has been a lifesaver, especially when everything feels so overwhelming. Right now, we're still working on getting the restraining order, but I'm also trying to focus on my pregnancy. I'm really hoping the restraining order goes through because having Lila in our lives is becoming a real danger. I'll keep you all posted on how things turn out. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been a few weeks since my last update, and I've got a lot to share. We finally managed to get a restraining order against Lila, which is a huge relief. But before that, things got really intense and I want to fill you in. Before the restraining order was in place, Lila messed up big time by sending me an email. In it, she actually threatened to hurt me and my baby if I went ahead with the restraining order. I was completely shocked. It was hard to wrap my head around the fact that someone I once considered family could say something so cruel and scary. It felt like she was trying to intimidate me into backing down. The email was full of blame, accusing me of tearing the family apart. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It left me feeling really uneasy, scared and angry at the same time. How could she think threatening me was okay? It was hard not to let the fear take over. I kept worrying about how her threats might affect my pregnancy and my mental health. But I knew I couldn't let her control my life, especially when I needed to focus on staying healthy and preparing for my baby. When I showed Luke the email, he was furious. He couldn't believe Lila would go that far. He told me right away to save it as evidence. He knew we had to take her threat seriously, so we started figuring out how to bring it up with our lawyer. Dealing with all of this while trying to stay positive during my pregnancy was exhausting, but I knew I had to stay strong for my baby. While we were working on getting the restraining order, I couldn't stop thinking about how much Lila had changed. What started as a silly argument had turned into something really scary. And it hurt. I always thought of her as family, but now it felt like she was a completely different person. Someone who wanted to hurt us instead of being there for us. After some really hard days, we finally made it to court to file for the restraining order. I was nervous, but I knew it had to be done. With the email as evidence, I was hoping the judge would understand how serious things had gotten. During the hearing, I explained everything, from the medication issue to the rumors and Lila's threats. I could tell the judge was really listening and taking notes, which made me feel a little more hopeful. When we got the restraining order approved, it was such a relief. But I also knew this wasn't the end. It was just the start of a long road. Even with the order in place, I can't shake this uneasy feeling. Lila has already proven how unpredictable she is, and I keep worrying she might try to contact me again. Especially since her behavior has been so all over the place. The thought of constantly watching my back is exhausting. I just want to enjoy my pregnancy, but instead, I'm stuck feeling anxious all the time. Luke and I talked about how to move forward. We know we need to keep our distance from Lila, but we also don't want to cut ourselves off from the rest of the family. It's a tricky balance. We realized we have to be careful about what we share with our relatives. We don't want to drag them into the drama, but we also need to make sure we're protecting ourselves. Since getting the restraining order, it's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster. We're already thinking about how to handle family events in the future, especially since Lila has a way of twisting things to make herself look like the victim. Some friends who still talk to her say she's trying to play the sympathy card, claiming we're overreacting and that I'm trying to turn everyone against her. It's so frustrating to hear she's still spreading lies about us. Every time I hear from family about what Lila's saying, it just makes me feel more anxious and upset. I just want to enjoy this special time in my life without all the drama. It's hard to stay focused when I know she's out there trying to cause trouble. But I keep reminding myself that I'm not the problem here. I'm doing everything I can to protect my family, and I won't let her control our lives anymore. Update 4. Hey everyone, it's been a few weeks since my last update, and I've got a lot to share. First, the big news. We had our baby last month. I'm over the moon. Holding our little guy made all the stress melt away, even if just for a little while. Being a parent is indescribable, and we're so grateful he's healthy. We named him Neil, and he's already stolen our hearts. But on a tougher note, things got really scary with my sister-in-law, Lila. You might remember we had to get a restraining order against her because of her unstable behavior and threats toward me and the baby. I thought that would keep us safe, but unfortunately, things escalated. Shortly after Neil was born, Lila showed up at our house out of the blue. I was still recovering from childbirth and trying to figure out this whole mom thing. Luke had run out for a quick errand, so it was just me and Neil at home. I was in the nursery soothing him when I heard someone banging loudly on the front door. I looked out the window and was stunned to see Lila there, looking completely frantic. She was screaming at the top of her lungs, demanding to see her little Joe, and accusing me of keeping her from him. She even threatened to call Child Protective Services if I didn't let her in. I was terrified. The last thing I needed was her showing up like this, and all I could think about was protecting Neil. I grabbed my phone to call Luke, but before I could, I heard the door being forced open. Somehow, she got inside, and I could hear her yelling my name. I felt completely helpless. I was still recovering from giving birth, but I knew I had to keep Neil safe. I took a deep breath, stayed as calm as I could, and took him into the bedroom, locking the door behind us. Lila kept shouting, and it was clear she wasn't going to leave without a fight. I didn't know what else to do, so I called 911. I explained the situation, told them about the restraining order, and said I was scared for me and Neil. The whole time, Lila was banging on the bedroom door, demanding to see him. It was terrifying to see how far she was willing to go. Thankfully, the police showed up fast. I heard the sirens and felt a wave of relief knowing help was on the way. When they came inside, they found Lila still trying to force her way into the room. They acted quickly, pulling her back and trying to calm her down. I only opened the door after an officer assured me she was being restrained. I could see the police talking to her, but I was too shaken to really hear what they were saying. I stayed in the bedroom, holding Neil tight and trying to soothe him because all the noise had made him cry. It broke my heart that he had to experience something so chaotic so early in his life. The officers were questioning Lila, trying to figure out why she'd come to our house and what she was planning. Turned out her situation was even worse than I thought. They told me her neighbors had reported her for trespassing multiple times. She'd been acting erratically, trying to break into their homes and causing problems. They also discovered she had a bunch of unpaid tickets and had been arrested for drunk driving just 2 weeks before showing up at our place. Hearing all of this was a huge shock. The police ended up taking her into custody for violating the restraining order. They said it was a serious offense, especially given her recent behavior. Once they left with Lila, I finally felt like I could breathe again. Luke got home shortly after and was clearly worried when he saw the police cars outside. He rushed in to check on me and Neil, and just seeing him walk through the door made me feel so much better. I filled him in on everything that had happened. He was furious that Lila had come to our house, but he was also relieved the police had handled it. Since then, we've taken steps to make our home more secure. We've added extra locks to the doors and installed a security camera outside. I wanted to make sure we were protected in case anything like this ever happened again. Word about the incident spread quickly, and soon family members were reaching out to see if we were okay. It meant a lot to have their support and encouragement during such a tough time. It was hard not to notice how Lila kept trying to get people to feel sorry for her. She started telling her side of the story to anyone who would listen, twisting things to make herself look like the misunderstood family member who just wanted to see her nephew. Some friends who were still in touch with her said she claimed we were overreacting and making her life difficult, playing the victim. But she conveniently left out the threats she had made and the serious problems that led to the restraining order against her. As the truth started to come out, her attempts to get attention became more desperate. We found out this wasn't her first run-in with the law. After she got arrested, we discovered she had a much bigger criminal past than we ever knew. Over the years, she had been involved in theft and fraud cases, things that family members had kept quiet about to avoid embarrassment. Learning all this was a shock, especially for Luke and me, as we realized how much she had lied to us. It made us wonder how much of what we thought we knew about her was even true. As more family and friends learned about her past, her efforts to gain sympathy started to backfire. Instead of feeling sorry for her, people began to judge her and feel disappointed. It became clear she had crossed too many lines and put her family at risk just to protect her own pride. Most people decided they were done with her, seeing that the situation was far worse than she had made it out to be. Her lies fell apart as her criminal record and unstable behavior came to light. Now, with Lila back in jail for her latest crimes, she's pretty much cut off from most of the family. After years of giving her chances, those close to her finally see her for who she really is. Luke and I feel a sense of peace knowing she's out of our lives for good this time. We've made it clear we won't let her back in or give her another chance to manipulate or hurt us. The whole situation has been really hard, but it's a huge relief to know we can move on without her drama and manipulation. We've taken steps to protect ourselves and, most importantly, our baby from any future trouble she might try to cause. For the first time in what feels like forever, we can focus on our family and raising Neil in a safe, loving home. Lila is finally out of our lives, and it's brought a sense of peace to our home after months of stress and fear. Luke and I can now focus on building a safe and loving environment for our child, free from the chaos and manipulation Lila brought into our lives. The support from our family and friends has been a huge help, and it's reassuring to know we're all on the same page about keeping strong boundaries in place. It's sad how things got so bad with someone we once trusted, but this whole situation has taught us how important it is to protect our family and set clear limits when necessary. It's a relief to know Lila and her past actions are no longer a part of our lives, and we don't have to worry about her causing more trouble. This experience has shown us how crucial it is to prioritize our peace and safety, and that's what we're focused on as we move forward. This will probably be my last update here. Thank you to everyone who reached out and supported me during this time. I really needed an outside perspective to make sure I wasn't just losing my mind over everything that was happening. Everyone who commented on my posts was a big help, and I'm so grateful for the kindness and advice.